Hello, welcome to What the Feminine, where we will show the world how to have crucial, nuanced conversations and how healthy feminine and masculine embodiment are the gateway to global healing. I'm Nicole George, the CEO and founder of Sovereign Magazine. And as the host and moderator of the show, I'd like to remind our guests and audience that the questions posed in today's episode are neither a reflection of my personal beliefs and opinions, thoughts, or ideologies, nor of Sovereign Magazine's. They are simply a guide for us to go deeper into our own constructed beliefs and ask ourselves, how can we remain open and curious to being recoded to a more compassionate, cohesive way of living? The content in this episode could contain references to topics and difficult subject matter that may be triggering for you, so please honor yourself and inner knowing. Our show is never a substitute for any professional guidance. Please always seek the guidance from a certified professional. Today, we have three gorgeous ladies from all around the globe. I'm going to allow each of them to introduce themselves and tell us where they are calling in from. Cass, you're first on my screen.
Absolutely. Um, Cassandra Ayers here. I own Cassandra Freya. Freya is my 3-year-old daughter. And when she was born, she sort of created the new vision of what I do. And so I started out as a psychic medium, and now I'm actually doing really, really in-depth numerology work in the corporate space. And so, from a leadership perspective, how do we lead ourselves? Everything comes internally to the external world. So helping executive leadership sort of figure out how to do that and who they are and what triggers them and what blind spots they have, but also even just, any individual contributors, teams, anyone really can really learn how to lead themselves from their energetic blueprint. So
And where are you
I'm
calling?
calling in from West Virginia.
Okay, Crystal.
Hi, thank you for having me on here again. It's always a joy, Nicole. I'm Crystal Cockerham, crystalcockerham.com. I'm a certified red tent facilitator, spiritual mentor, and author, and I guide women to unleash their feminine wisdom, claim their sovereignty, and rise as the goddess they are by awakening their intuitive gifts and deeply integrating the sacred rhythms of the lunar wisdom to navigate every space and phase of their life. So I love doing this one-on-one. I do it in sacred circles. I do it online. I love to host retreats and workshops and all that good stuff.
And you're calling in from?
Michigan.
Okay, Dani, you're next.
Hello, ladies. Good evening. So I'm Dani Devren from Soul Aligned Mentor, and I'm calling in from London, UK. I had to start with that because I feel like an alien amongst you all. But yeah, I'm just outside of London, and I am a marketing and visibility mentor. So I spent the last 7 years growing various different businesses through social media, and I sort of fell into this consultancy role this year, but it really did take off when I lent into my spiritual awakening. So this year, I've not only just found who I am, but I've also then embodied a whole new business because of it. So I'm really all about trying to support business owners to nurture themselves from soul deep so that they really understand who they are so that they can show up online with confidence. Because as we all know, no matter what business you do, especially an online one, you really, really need to own your unique sense of self and have that inner soul deep sense of confidence so that you can own your space and own your platform online and do all that amazing magical stuff that you want to do. So I have a one-to-one sort of business model where I support business owners with consultancy, just one-on-one level. I had an Instagram membership, and I've just started a mastermind for the spiritually curious business owner. So I'm weaving all of it in so that they can really understand the marketing, visibility, Instagram side, but from that spiritual perspective, so that they really do go deep and understand all the parts of them that make them them, because it truly shaped my business career and my personal life as well. So I just want to support them through their own awakening journeys.
Yes. Yes. All see, look at the amazing women we get on this show. I just feel truly blessed to know everyone and get to personally connect with each of you. Not every day, but almost. In my mind, it's every day. So today we're going to be talking about from 3D hustle to 5D alignment, living more with ease and purpose. And so I always love to define what that means for each of us because We all might have a different definition. So, what does 3D alignment, or excuse me, 3D hustle, 5D alignment mean or look like to you? Everybody might have a different answer. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'll go first then. I'm very excited about this topic because I truly feel like that's probably what I've been through in the last few years, especially the last year. So I have always called myself the very busy fool because I was very much in that 3D hustle state. So I started my first business 7 years ago, and then I think I just fumbled my way through a million other businesses because, of course, when you go on maternity leave and you start working for yourself, you then love the freedom, but you have children at home. I was very much in a state of trying to prove that I could stay off work to my husband, to my family, to my friends. So I did all the things, and I was just a very, very busy fool who really didn't know who I was or what I wanted to do. And I think when I started to go deep and unlock all those parts of me, and I truly had that kind of permission, I guess, to really lean into who I was, that's when everything kind of slowed down to speed up. And I think that kind of defines, for me anyway, what the 5D is, because as soon as you go inwards and you kind of surrender to any external judgment or validation or any external things that you've been kind of using to monitor your life or steer you in a certain direction, you sort of let go of all of that and none of it matters. And then you propel yourself from a whole different place and it feels so much calmer, so much nicer. And I think that's the true kind of definition for me anyway of how I went from 3D to 5D, because yeah, it all became internalized, I guess.
And don't you find that when you work in alignment, you actually get so much more done?
So much more done.
It's so strange. I feel like I bend time all the time. A psychic told me I do, but I just feel like I get sometimes like 12 hours of work done in two. It's kind of crazy. Okay, who wants to go
Yeah.
next? What's
Um,
3D?
I'll I'll go. So to me, 3D hustle is, you're so in it, and it's kind of like the conditioning we're all raised for. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, get it done, get as much done as possible. You've got to be superwoman, blah, 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 blah. Right? Like 3D. Ew. You feel flat. It's almost robotic. Like there's no personality. It's easy to lose yourself in the 3D reality. Whereas when I tap in to feel about, okay, what is 5D? 5D for me is more like you're in alignment from the inside out instead of the outside in, right? So, yeah, there's probably still pressure there somewhere, but you get to choose if it affects you or rules you or interferes. Some of us need that little bit of pressure. And I just said us, I do not need that pressure. I'm over that pressure. But some people still thrive on that pressure of a deadline because that gives them, the momentum that they need to really focus. Whereas for me, it's more intuitive and tapping in and following the flow that shows up in that moment. So, for us as business owners, for me, some days I go on these streaks where I'm just in a creative flow and I follow that flow and I'll take a break and do, like, I call it treading water, like those tasks that we all have to do when we have our own business, like, and I'll do those and then I'll go right back into the project. So for me, the 5D is really just it's flowing from that divine feminine source, that creatrix energy.
Mm,
Whether I'm in creation mode or not, I'm tapping into that flow.
mm,
Oh, I love that. It's so true because like you deal with so many cycles. And until I learned I actually had a cycle and that there were different flows to that cycle, I
Mhm.
didn't realize that, oh, that's why I don't want to do anything right now, or that's why I'm so creative right now. It wasn't until I learned about my bleed did I really understand that when you understand the cycles of your body, you'll also understand why you have desires in certain aspects and times of your life, throughout
Mhm.
the month. And you can be more productive when you work in flow. So I love that you mentioned that. What about you, Cass?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because For me, 3D, and I'm just looking at the notes that I took about this, but 3D is really survival mode for me. When I think about the 3D, it's again, like Crystal said, it's bringing in all of those external, emotions, other people's asks. There's this linear timeline, whereas 5D for me is really energetic sovereignty where you, like you said, Nicole, collapsing time and being able to go with the flow and trust is inherent underneath all of that. And it's interesting because before we hit record, we were talking about expectations, right? And I think that 3D in that survival mode, often we place these external expectations on ourselves. So, if nothing else, that really hit home. Whereas 5D, you can expect certain things, but you have to make sure that you're not trying to control an outcome, which I think oftentimes in the survival mode, control is what we latch onto because we assume that if we have control, then we have safety.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Okay,
Love
so now
that.
that we've
Sorry.
gone there, we've defined it. What do we do? What are the warning signs that people can look for that we're in this survival mode instead of in alignment? And somebody might be watching this going, am I in 3D? Am I in 5D? Like, what does this look like? I mean, I remember looking back going, there's no other way. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to hustle, right? I'm supposed to work 50 to 60 hours a week and be on call and never feel like I have time. And now that I'm in complete alignment, I'm like, why is that existing? Can we like get rid of that? I just don't understand it anymore. But it's taken years to untangle that mindset. So, what were the warning signs for you, or what have you seen with clients you've worked with?
I'll go. So what I love to say to my clients is when they're feeling in a certain state of uncertainty is check your intentions. So whenever you're doing anything within your business, what is the goal? What is the intention? And if it comes from a place of scarcity or hustle, or let's put it really simply, if you're just trying to make some money, you're probably in your 3D. And I like to get them to check that. And I think we can all feel in that state of, you check the bills. At the end of the day, we are living a human 3D life. We need to make those bills. And when we feel we're getting into that scarcity mode and you're panicking a little bit, that's when you need to take some deep breaths, do some grounding, and come back and realize and remember why we've created the businesses or the freedom and the lifestyles that we have. We're here to serve. And we are so grateful that we have these opportunities. We get to do these things. So it's kind of just flipping that intention. And I use it especially with obviously showing up online. What are you posting for? Are you posting to convince somebody of something? Are you posting to force your opinion on the world? Or are you posting to share what's inside of you because you want to share it for yourself? So I feel like sometimes when you change the intention, and you have to be mindful that you're not trying to convince or persuade or rush or force, and you're in a surrender state. And that's where I feel like the real magic comes when you know you've completely surrendered control and you're just flowing. The byproduct is usually what you want, right? But you have to flip that the intention is not to receive it, it's that it already is. So yeah, that's what I like to think about.
That is such a good question. What is the intention behind your actions? That is so good. That's going to take a little while to
Mm.
digest. Yes, I love that. Okay, who's going to go next?
Intention is great. Another marker for knowing you're not in the flow is when you're in resistance or frustration. When that resistance shows up, you're not in flow, you're fighting something. So learning to really just like take a step back and be okay with not going into go, 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 go mode, and just reevaluating, right? Like remembering that we are our own sovereign beings, and especially when we're creating and we're working in our business, but even in our own lives, if something's not in alignment and there's resistance, then that means there's something for us to reevaluate. Most oftentimes, it could be a boundary, it could be our why, it could be we need to refine that intention. But I would say resistance and frustration are usually really good flags.
100%. Anytime the team feels resistance or ick, I call it the ick. If you're like, ugh, why do I have to do that? I'm like, pause, come talk to me. It means we need to get rid of it. We need to change something. Like, we shouldn't be dreading anything in this business. Like, we have the most fun jobs ever, and we work in complete alignment. There's no times people have to work in our roles. We work whenever we want. We just know our deadlines, and then we work in complete alignment with unlimited sick leave, paid leave, all of that, menstrual leave, whatever you need. And so there should never be a time where we're dreading coming to work. So if there is, that's a great, great example, Crystal. Then something's out of alignment and we need to talk about it. So I love that you brought that up. What about you, Kath?
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar to Crystal, but then as she was talking, the word thinking in absolutes, those words came through. And so when the quickest way that I know that I'm in my 3D, this is not necessarily for entrepreneurs, this is personal, is am I thinking in absolutes? So if this, then that 100% of the time. Like, well, nope, if I do that, well, no one's going to come to that call. Or, well, if I don't rewrite that copy, no one's going to read it. Or, well, every time I have a conversation with that person in my family, it always goes south. Like that is 100% an example of 3Ds. I mean, I'm sure other people could think of other absolute statements. But my invitation when that happens, because I have a lot of six in my chart, which is all visualization, that arc line, that intuition, that visionary, is to sort of exercise that muscle. Okay, but what if something else happened? What if the equal but opposite happened to that absolute? And start to play with that and see how that feels. Because oftentimes, even just seeing that in that moment, seeing, cute, but even just seeing it in that moment to say, oh, wait, okay, well, probability in this human life is that this is probably going to happen. But what if it didn't?
Mm.
What if this other path came along? What if that then led to more conversations that actually created connection
Mm.
and so on and so forth? So I get really passionate about that if you couldn't tell, but I was just thinking about that absolutes and, things we work on in therapy with our stuck points and whatnot. And I just feel like that if you're saying, oh, well, this happens every single time, or this is always happening, ding, 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 if that comes out of your mouth, perhaps there's an invitation there to visualize something different.
And now our invitation is go to our Threads account. If you haven't been on our Threads account, it's all what if questions. Every
Mm.
single post now is a what if question. And it is so interesting to read the comments because the assumptions about the what if questions are already there for them. And we don't give them an answer. We ask them to ponder a little bit more, to go within, that they have all the answers, because guess what? We're not here to answer the question of what if. The question is, can you imagine something different? And so that's why we started this whole what if campaign. Oh, I don't know how long ago we did, but it was to start to get people to think, what if X was possible? What if something was different in your life? What if what you're experiencing is heading you down a different path? It's not for us to answer, it's for you to answer, right? So I love that, Cass, because that is the whole point of sovereignty for me, is that my experience is not going to be yours. Your experience is your own. And so, what if the possibilities are endless, that you can claim your sovereignty from this deep inner knowing that you already have? You don't need to buy anything to get it, it's within you. You just need to tap into it, right? Ah, I love this. Okay.
And I love
So,
that.
we're
Something that
almost
came up for me while Cass was sharing was the path of possibility lives in the 5D,
Mm.
right? Like that's your access to the path of possibility.
Yeah,
ah,
and I think
so
to
good.
just to be super clear, not everyone finds visualization about what's possible easy. And
Right.
that's the whole point,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I have a lot of, again, six energy in a challenge position. So it's like I struggle sometimes to get out of that stuck. And
Mm.
so often I have to remind myself, oh, no, 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 like it's okay, give yourself grace, but still do the activity because the more resistance you feel to something is probably where you need to spend more time.
Yeah.
I've
My
got a
husband always
question on
says,
that.
I'm
Oh,
not a dreamer. Oh, sorry, Danny.
no, that's
And
okay. I just got, go on, you go.
no, I was just going to say, my husband always says, I can't do that. I'm not a dreamer. I'm a realist. I live in the present moment. He literally does live in the
Yeah.
present moment. And so I get that, Cass, because I love to dream. I love to say what if. I love to think of all of these possibilities. And he just is like, no, not for me. So yeah. Okay, go ahead, Danny.
My husband's a lot like that as well. It must be a male thing. They find it harder to dream big. They're just way risk averse. I don't know. But when Cass was talking, it just made me think. So you know how, they say that the reason why we can visualize is because we've already achieved it, or whatever you can see in your mind's eyes because you've already got it. But that's to those of us that have great visual, mind's eye, right? Those of us that can visualize. But what about those that can't? Because some people really don't think they can see things in, their mind's eye. They don't have a strong imagination. So I always wonder, does that mean that they're on a different kind of like frequency and they're not going to achieve those big things? I don't really get how they would work around that because
Oh,
that's not right, is it? Of course not.
I have
Crystal.
an answer, not the answer. I never
Mm.
had the answer, but I have an answer. So I feel like if you're not visual, that's also not your dominant intuitive strength either.
Yeah.
Some people, and I'm telling you, one of the most intuitive women I know is not visual. And she has said in her life, and she's in her 70s, she's literally had twice where she's actually seen something. So some people, it does come to them in their dream time. Sometimes it's entering into a conversation with their self and they hear the whispers, those soul whispers, right? Sometimes they have to access it through journaling or it's a feeling and
Yes.
then they get to think that through.
Mm.
So, I
Mm.
mean, that's like my first thing that comes up. Like, if you're not a visual person, that's okay. You might be an auditory person where, you hear things or you feel things or you have to write it out because then it comes to you.
Mm.
That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you and you can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What
Yes,
do you think,
that is
Cass?
so true.
yeah. So what's interesting is I actually have a client who physically doesn't have an inner monologue. Like, you know
That's
how
that's what I was trying
when
to
we
remember. Inner
think
monologue.
sometimes, like we're thinking, and I'm like talking to myself. There's a term for it. Maybe we can find it and put it in the speaker notes. But she doesn't do that, and so she speaks out loud the things, or she'll logically research something that then she can write down in her journal to go back and read. But she cannot
Mm.
have that inner monologue. So visualization is like not non-existent from that perspective, which I think is fascinating. I know we're like going deep into a rabbit hole,
It's okay.
but yeah, I think
Looks like
that's
it's
fascinating.
called aphantasia.
Yes.
Aphantasia.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So new word for me there. I didn't even know that existed. This is the beauty of this show. Okay, so now we've defined it. We've talked about the red flags, what the warning signs are. So now what do we do? I always love to end the show with what is one tip that you would give to somebody who is stuck in 3D and like is dying to get to 5D. And so where can they start? Where can they begin?
Shall I go?
Oh
I love
no.
it. It's so polite. This is very
Yes.
British. The one thing that comes to me is just to trust that you are exactly where you need to be. I think just releasing the pressure we put on ourselves to be where we have to go to or do the right things. You just have to surrender and trust. It all becomes just a place of trust, doesn't it? And I just think as soon as you can really, really rewire your mindset to just be calm and just remember to be grateful for every single moment and just know you are exactly where you need to be. Whatever happens was supposed to happen that way to lead on to the next path and the next path. I like to remember it like that. So anything that goes wrong, it's going that way, not necessarily going wrong, it's going differently than you expected, but everything that happens is leading you into further where you need to be. So yeah, all about just trusting it and exhale and release that control, because we were conditioned and we have been conditioned by society and all sorts of pressures from our lifetimes and past lives to try and create all of that. But actually, when we trust that it's happening, for us and not to us, and I think that's a really nice mind frame to remember that you are exactly where you need to be. So it's all good. Trust.
Love that. All right, Crystal.
So I didn't want to go first because the very first thing that came to mind was to let yourself dream, and we've already kind of covered that. So I really had to think about, okay, well, what's the next thing? So I love every single thing that Dani just shared. Um, 100%. The other thing I would say is you find that one person, right? Whether you see a healer like somebody like us here, or you have a trusted friend who doesn't keep you in the word, right? Who isn't going to feed the drama queen, because nobody needs their drama fed. Nobody needs that part to grow. But someone who's really going to listen and hold that space and really, kind of start throwing out some seeds on the shelf for you to pick up and play with. Like, what if this possibility happens? Oh, but did you think about this? Oh, this is possible too, and maybe this needed to happen because, knowing that the other person on the other end always has that choice of, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. But whatever those ideas are, spark something in them to come up with their own, thread, their own rope to grab onto in order to help pull them out of the muck, so to speak.
I love that. Find your trusted person. Okay, Cass.
Find a little bit of joy, just one joyful moment every single day. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter if it's a fleeting second of a thought that's joyful, even when you're stuck. I'm thinking about, depression, anxiety, all of those moments sort of steal our joy. But if we bring joy back, whether that's singing, it's humming, it's doing a craft, it's just being creative in some way, also associated with the number 3 in numerology. Our power dynamic, our solar plexus is associated with 3. And oftentimes when we're stuck in this 3D mindset, we're giving our power away. And the quickest way to get that back is through joy.
Mm.
Love
As
that.
as you're talking to a joy activator over there, Dani,
Did you
she's
see me lean in? As soon as she said the word joy, I was like, I'm listening. I love that. Damn, why didn't I
yes.
think of that? But no, I love that. It's so, and it sounds so easy, right? It sounds so simple. Just find what lights you up and do that. Like, I feel like a lot of us, especially as women, when we become mums as well, like we forget to do the things that brings us joy. It's as simple as that, just detaching, disconnecting to reconnect, to do the things that brings you joy. I love it.
Yes. Yes, yes. See, this is why these calls are so important, because we get
So
to meet
good.
each other, we get to connect, we get to share with the world a new way of embodying the masculine and the feminine and just a new way of doing life. Well, thank you so much for being here today, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the
See you
space.
all on the next
Beautiful.
one.